Good morning. Jonah 1:3. But Jonah, this is after Jonah's called, rose to flee to Tarshish from the presence of the Lord. He went down to Joppa and found a ship going to Tarshish. So he paid the fare and went down into it to go with them to Tarshish, away from the presence of the Lord. A number of years ago, when I was a senior in high school, I began to sense through some circumstances that the Lord was calling me toward ministry. I was at a retreat in the fall on the Finger Lakes. The sun was setting. It was dusk, and you could look out on the water, see the willow trees on the banks waving. It was sort of that purple dusk that settles in as night falls. And there was a man standing on the bank of the lake, and a group of us were listening to him talk, and he was giving us a reflection on Jonah chapter 1. And I will never forget sitting on the banks of that lake in the Finger Lakes in upstate New York on that fall night, looking out as the moon glistened off of the water, as I could see the willow tree waving in the wind, and hearing him read verse 3, "But Jonah rose to flee to Tarshish from the presence of the Lord. He went down to Joppa and found a ship going to Tarshish." And I remember looking out at the water, and I could almost picture that boat out there sailing along. So he paid the fare and went down into it to go with them to Tarshish, away from the presence of the Lord. That man looked at us that night, and he said something that changed my life forever. He pointed out in that verse the literary irony of the phrase, "So he paid the fare and went down into it." And he looked at us and said, "You need to know something. If God comes calling in your life and you choose to run from it, it will always cost you. You'll always pay the fare. You'll never run from God where it doesn't cost you more than if you would have followed him." The idea that it would cost me to run from God as a young man who could sense the breath of the Almighty on my neck hung with me, and I could not shake it. I could not get away from the reality that God had something that he wanted me to do. So my reflection this morning is a really personal one, because Jonah 1:3 was a linchpin verse as God used it to call me into ministry. I share that with you because if you choose to run to Tarshish, so to speak, you're always going to, as the end of the verse says, it's going to be away from the presence of the Lord, and you'll pay the fare. My encouragement is this to you this morning. Discipleship has its own costs, and make no mistake, those costs are great. But make no mistake, those costs pale in comparison to what it will cost you if you choose to run from God. May the Lord bless you today.